The ability to perceive danger, leading to an urge to either flee or fight said danger. Now, the feeling of fear, the accelerated heartbeat, the shallow breathing are all inevitable. Our response to fear is within our control. So let's change our answer to fear, from flight to fight. This past summer, I worked for a tree care company. And in my last week of work, we had the monumental task of maintaining the large, rangy trees of Queen's Park. The ideal location for a rookie climber to get some climbing experience. So during that last week of work, I decided to at least try to become an arborist. I scouted the park, and there it was, a 60-foot maple with a huge trunk, supporting large stems jutting out and shooting up towards the sky. That was it. That tree would bear me for my first big climb. I assembled my coworkers' gear. I established the climbing rope at a point of about 50 feet up in the tree. I put on my harness, and I began my ascent. Now I have to admit that I was a little bit cocky going into this whole thing. I mean, how hard can climbing a tree really be, right? So up I go, slow, steady, and in control. Till at about 3/4 of the way up, that emotion, fear presents its ugly face to me. And it was at that moment that I quickly realized that there's a big difference between being on the ground and looking up at a point 50 feet up in a tree, and actually being at that point in the tree. Accelerated heartbeat, shallow breathing. I looked down to see an entanglement of wood, leaves, and the hard ground. Every worst case scenario was rushing through my head. The branch snaps, the rope breaks, my harness fails me in an ambulance on my way to the hospital. I'm freaking out. And then out of nowhere, bang! A huge gust of wind shakes the entire tree. And there I am, swinging like a pendulum, my life hanging by a 1/2-inch rope. I managed to grab hold of a branch, and I hung onto that branch for dear life. Now my response, flight, for me, at that moment in time, was a very real possibility. I looked down, and I thought how easy it would have been to have just gotten out of the tree, take my harness off, and walk away. But then I thought about the disappointment I would have felt not finishing what I had set out to do. I wanted to give this arborist thing a real shot. So I took a deep breath, I calmed myself down, I checked that my harness was on good and tight, and it was, and I decided to fight. I looked up, and I reassured myself that the only place I would go is up, and that I would only come down when I was good and ready. So I went higher and higher and higher. A few chainsaw cuts later, a few more wind gusts go by, and the ordeal is over. I begin my descent. And when my feet touched the ground, something special happened. I was overwhelmed with confidence. I felt like just yelling out a huge cry for victory and beating my chest with my fists. I felt like I could do anything. I had conquered one of my biggest fears. And that's the special thing about fear, is that whether you failed or succeeded at whatever it is you set out to do, you instantly become a better person when you decide, fight. You've overcome a hurdle in your life. You punch through a wall. I forgot what I was going to say. You punch through a wall. You've expanded your comfort zone. And in my eyes, expanding your comfort zone is one of the most fulfilling things that an individual can do to better themselves, whether it be at their job, in a relationship, or in life in general. So today, I'm issuing to all of you a challenge to get out there and to face your fears. And to remember that when you do, remember that overwhelming feeling of confidence that you'll get that feeling of being unstoppable, that feeling of being able to do anything, and use that feeling to fuel and to motivate yourself to expand your own comfort zone. I'll leave you with a quote. It's an ancient samurai maxim, and it states, "No fear, no hesitation, no doubt. Never doubt yourself or your ability to get something done. Never hesitate to do something you want to do. And when you're faced with that inevitable feeling of fear,